conversations around items 2 and 3. But I'm going to try to keep us going on that a little bit, just so we can have plenty of time to go over the last 2 items too. So get us out of here at a reasonable time.
Do you want me to recuse for open?
What do you think, Wallace? Should Amber recuse herself from the open container?
Comfortable.
Usually, I mean,
Probably, yes.
usually when we're voting, at least I do, but
You think that's
I
okay
mean,
if she
that's
does?
first, right?
Sure.
That's first.
It is first.
No,
See ya.
Thank you for stopping in.
I
Appearance.
feel she's relevant to the discussion, just so she abstains on thumbs up.
I know Amber's been pretty consistent with not being even in the conversations, but I'm comfortable either way, whatever, like Wallace said, whatever you're comfortable with, Amber. Because I know you're in the open container.
And I use it, so.
And you use
I will-
it,
yeah,
so.
I will recuse.
Thanks, Pat. And I know what you're saying too.
Yeah, because it's just a conversation about extending the boundaries, not
Yeah.
for license or whatever.
All righty, let's go ahead and shift into open container. Madam City Manager, do you have anything you'd like to start with?
I'll just start off while Carla, our licensing specialist, and Fleur come to the podium to remind you, council, that you have a standing resolution for the open container area downtown. So it has kicked in under your standing resolution on May 1st, but noting you wish to have some conversation about that, staff are prepared to talk through potential changes. You'll note they are not recommending a boundary change, but are suggesting a change in the hours of the open container period.
Mayor, councilors, we are recommending the changing of hours from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. This better aligns with multiple downtown events. Some of our event organizers have to get an open container from like 3 to 5. So this, we are not recommending expanding the boundaries due to safety and traffic concerns. And all the qualified liquor license holders are in the current boundaries. If staff agrees with the changes and the recommendations, we will prepare an updated resolution. That's about it.
Awesome. Any questions about the expanded times?
Can I
Yeah,
go?
please. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yes.
No, being Pat and I were just at the meeting this morning for the DCBA, and their main concern was with the time. And so having the time change to 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., I think they'll be satisfied with that. They were just curious about that boundary because there were some shops, but made a good point this morning to them that like from different advice that they had that all the entities that are participating that have the license that can serve to those folks are already in the boundary. And so they understood that. They also understand that it's public safety does come first. They were just hoping or wondering if there was going to be a hard, like somebody monitoring, which has never been that way in the case of where the boundary is. And you can't come out my back door because that's 50 feet from the boundary line, you know, that kind of stuff. So that was their concern. And then I pointed out, like specifically, it was Cadillac Cowgirl that wanted her shop to not be excluded. But again, it's like, where do you stop with that boundary when there's nobody that's participating in that area, and it's closer to First Street. So did you?
Yeah, if I could expand a little
Absolutely,
bit on that. So the concern was that you've got the open container and it's limited to Second Street. So if they walk down to Cadillac Cowgirl, if she was participating, let's say in Art Walk,
And they had a cocktail, or
then
that was her.
it's illegal for her to carry, or for anybody to carry an open container down to Cadillac Cowgirl a half a block. So that was the main concern.
Chief, did you want to say anything? There you come up. No, okay. She told you to sit down.
No, that's not quite what that
No.
sidebar was.
Just more check. Yeah. And how they wanted to.
They understood.
Yeah, so, and we can change the boundaries. When we spoke to PD, it was basically, as I mentioned to you, when we spoke previously, it's just the public safety concerns of traffic, and dealing with that. Obviously, we don't recommend that anybody not follow the rules, the legal rules. And what Chief just came up and said was that we can see that from this time each year and during the hours, they do have increased call volume. Not a significant amount, but it does increase. I think he said 15%. So that is something to keep in mind as we expand the boundaries. So obviously, it's council's discretion if you would like to expand that. That's just why we didn't recommend it.
I also pointed out to them that we can't keep doing this every year. Just to make that clear too, that we can't keep extending the boundary and extending it and changing it constantly, that they need to
Well, and I think
figure it out and keep
all the
it.
time that I've been on, it seems like every year there's been some
Something
level
more.
of, some type of thing that they want adjustments and, which I'm not opposed to per se, but I think at some point we need to remain consistent and say from this area, and I think even for the sake of the police that, you know, who have to manage that and do those things, have they, so they can
Oh,
stay
because it'll be all the way clear up to First Street,
Right.
you know, and then that's YDOT, right? And more traffic, more safety concerns, so especially if people have open container drinking. I don't even feel comfortable with that close, so. But
So any other questions for Carla? Figure out something here. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
So Ash Street, if I'm correct, is where Gaslight Social and the office is at. And so that boundary is there.
Yes, it goes all the way to the office.
Pardon?
It goes all the way to the office.
Okay. And I think the other request, which I understood why not, was Frosty's from somebody. And that really unfortunately didn't make sense to go across Collins, that's for sure.
So let me ask, because I don't have the actual map pulled up here. Oh, but
I do.
he does. Is Signet in that? I thought they were in that boundary, right? Yeah. And so that was the other concern that a couple of them had, not anything about Signet. It was the back door to Art 321 and Rocca's, but Rocca's doesn't have a permit anyway for that, so.
All right. They cannot serve, but it does extend walking there because of the office.
Okay,
So you can,
okay,
and then all the way to Signet, so.
okay, so they can. All right.
Michael.
Fleur or Carla, have there been any requests like for, I'm sorry, for, see where the boundary extends up Beach Street to Collins to access the Nick, for example, but I'm thinking about Art Walk. So I don't know if the recommended path to get to the Nick is down the rail trail
Mm-hmm.
if you're going east. Is that correct?
Yes,
So then they would just come up. That makes sense. Okay. So that makes sense
it
about,
goes all the way
Collins Street.
behind the Nick on the rail trail.
Yeah.
All the way up
Yeah.
into that stoplight on Second,
okay,
on the other backside of the Nick.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they asked specifically for the rail trail, and there was concern about extending northbound on Beach. It would include the bus hub, and we didn't know if you wanted to open.
Mm. Yeah, it's on Beach Street now, but.
I mean,
The bus hub.
I take the position, I'm not open to expanding anything. I know I said that in leadership. I'm great with the hours, but at the expansion of the boundary, I think we should maintain the consistency.
And they understand that.
Good.
From the meeting. I mean, they just are putting in their suggestions and they're understanding that we can't just keep on. And we need to have those boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Just gonna stand there. You want to hear from you.
Snuck up on her.
Mayor, council, if I may, I would agree. I don't want to continue to extend this every year because it just creates a problem and then people are going to start breaching the boundaries that are already there. Just like Ms. Jensen pointed out, that somebody's already asking for this accommodation and this accommodation. And at that point, then we're just, it's too hard to manage that. Not to say that it can't be done, but people are going to start pushing those boundaries anyway. So I would respectfully request that we stick with what we have, not entertain any more additional requests for extending that.
Any questions for Chief? Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
To avoid keep coming back. So if you took half of South David and a half of South Center and a half of Walcott, I mean, the desire, and this is more around our walk in particular. I don't know if those businesses will participate, but if you did a half a block, especially David Street in particular, I don't know if Gruner Brothers with the restaurant stuff will open those, like Frontier,
What's that?
Frontier did serve out of both sides, which is David Street and Second Street. I don't know if the new owners will do the same thing to avoid any problem. But, and again, Center Street, it's just a matter of walking. Carrying an open container a half a block down, and the same with Walcott Galleria in particular. So,
Do you have something?
I did. So for Gruner Brothers, they are not pulling the same liquor license that Frontier had. They are actually going to go with a restaurant and
Bar and
so
grill.
bar and grill. So you cannot do off-premise consumption, so they cannot pour out of the premises.
Oh.
Frontier had a microbrewery and you can't pour. So they will no longer be able to do that.
okay, so just for clarification purposes, so you're not using a particular disposable cup to put the drink in, so it's clearly identifiable. What's to stop me from buying a clear cup? I'd walk into Gruner Brothers, whatever they're gonna call it, buying a beer, walking back out, and nobody's gonna stop and
Do a taste test to make sure it came from the right brewery.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It would be up to Gruner Brothers to not allow people to take, just like anywhere you go, it's the liquor license holder responsibility to say you can't take this outside. And then the people who do participate give out wristbands. So you can see where it came from.
so I'd have to walk down from the office clear to backwards. And then I get another wristband.
Yes, essentially.
So I could end up with 5 or 6 wristbands.
I was drinking.
I have,
Pat held them all.
Kind of night.
I'm being very serious.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Essentially, that's what they should be doing.
That's the rules.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, when it's the chocolate walk, you get the stamp.
Mhm.
It's like that.
But you don't get a passport.
No, you get a bracelet chain.
Because to take that specific entity's drink out, they have their own color coded wristband for each one, so they know where the drinks came from.
And we sell those.
So they're compliant. Each bar has one. They have them during open container.
So it's not like Mardi Gras where your goal is to collect more.
Or is it?
Your Honor. So yes, the establishment buys their wristbands. They send us what they look like, and then we track that. Don't sell them.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
questions.
That you can think of from the meeting?
Okay, is everybody okay with, oh, go ahead, Randy, sorry.
I was debating if I was gonna say anything. I don't love excluding Cadillac Cowgirl just because somebody has a drink, they aren't going there during all of our events.
Has anybody
But
ever
I
said that, do you think?
Also, well, I hate to side with you, Jenna. But, I mean, they are the only one on that street right now. But I also love the, let's do this every single year, right, chief? But I do think that I would say that if we get some businesses and all these empties down here and there are more people that want it on Center Street, I would be completely open to having this conversation one more again.
I would say though, too, to the argument of them, that all the establishments are already within the border. There's nobody down there who can get a
Right
wristband and
now,
sell them.
but Center Street
Well,
is empty. So I am comfortable
Somebody'd
saying
have
if we open some businesses and they want to readdress it then, I'm open to that if they want to get just a couple more people down there.
Let you guys deal with that next year.
I was gonna say, it's gotta happen.
Thanks, guys,
first,
thanks.
Right?
Anything else for the chief,
not a
Carla,
bar.
or? All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Is everybody okay with the extension of hours? Oh, there's adjustment of hours, okay. And everything else stays, boundaries stay the same?
So I'm not okay with, I'm great with the, okay with the boundary.
Okay.
Because I think it's, if I had a business in Walcott Galleria and I was participating in the art walk, I'm not saying purchase, but you're in trouble right now if you go down the Walcott Galleria with an open container, whatever establishment you bought it at. That's the way I read the boundaries.
That you would determine it.
So that I'm not okay with. So,
Thanks,
But
Pat.
does anybody in the Walcott Galleria have, I mean, I get your reasoning, it's the same fight that Cadillac Cowgirl has right now, but there's no business establishment in Walcott Galleria that can hand out wristbands, right?
That's not
But
what
do they
I'm, that's
participate in
not,
the art walk?
that's not what I'm saying.
He's saying if you
Right.
buy a drink from
Right.
backwards, you can't walk
Walk
to,
down there.
into the
Right,
gallery
yeah, yeah.
with the open
It's the
container.
same thing as,
So,
as Cadillac Cowgirl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
yes.
is, it is, that's what I was saying.
Yes.
It's the same fight.
Right.
All right, we'll save that conversation for another day. We move forward on the unofficial vote, and then it'll go to resolution. Anything else?
What were the next items?
That's what I
We're
thought,
just gonna stay.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the mobile vendor. You have any setup you'd like?
Just to state that we did have a counselor bring forward a concern from David Street Station, which I asked the staff to look into with David Street Station. They have done that, and this discussion is the result of that work with our David Street partners.
Mayor, counselors, currently our mobile vendor parking permit ordinance allows for one vendor per block face. And block face is, we consider both sides of the street, so just one on each block face. And a maximum of 10 days per month on the same block face. What we are proposing is to remove the 10-day monthly limit. This permit is not used a lot. It's used consistently, but not a lot. Increase the capacity to have 2 vendors on each side of the block. Any more than 2, we would require them to do a street closure and a special event. We're also changing the fee structure from $25, requesting from $25 per parking space to just a flat $25 per permit. If council approves, we will move forward with an ordinance change.
All right, who would like to start the conversation? Pat? I'll
So
get you mine.
block face meaning, so you'd allow on each side of the street, one trailer, or are you talking 2 trailers and 2 trailers?
Mayor, councilors, we would allow 1 trailer and 1 trailer on each side of the street
Per block?
per block.
Street, or 2 total.
2 total, yes.
So within your boundaries of the street, you can have 2 total. Whether they're on the same side of the street or on opposite sides of the street, only 2 within that block.
I reread the memo, so I got my question answered.
Good, it's good.
Helps to read what's.
Go ahead, Pat.
I read it, but I just didn't connect it to the cursor.
So, when this all first started, so is there any consideration if I've got a food truck and I want to be right in the branding iron with a competing business, and I don't care what branding iron thinks, that's where I want to be. Is that totally legal now?
Mayor, councilors, no, it is not. The ordinance specifically says you have to have a sponsor, a business sponsor, within 30 feet. If you don't have that, we would not approve it.
So that hasn't changed.
We're not requesting to change that.
And another question I've got, so the parking right across from Rocca's, and that originally got set up with supposedly some extra electrical, specifically for food trucks. Has anybody taken advantage of that, or?
Council, mayor, councilors, have I ever had a request for that to be rented?
Is there like a PSA, do you think we could put out for summer that would remind people? 'Cause I think out of sight, out of mind, kind of forgetful.
So do we charge $25 for a single spot over there, or is it multiple spots?
Mayor, councilor, we do, it's $25 per spot, but it's a $300 deposit for electricity. And I think sometimes that's what makes them not want to do it. A lot of them do have generators, but most of our food trucks are around David Street Station, and that's just a little bit too far. They don't want to be that far away from David Street Station.
So why such a high, is that something that was such a high, $300 for, is it just a deposit for electricity?
It's just a deposit, just in case something goes wrong with the, with electrical.
It's fully refundable.
Oh, it's fully
It
refundable.
is.
So I think the thought behind the whole thing was, the only thing I've ever seen in Austin, Texas, they do a lot of groupings of, and they've got specific spots lined out. I don't exactly know how they work it, but I think that was the thought, which I think was a good thought of that council. But, too bad nobody's taken advantage of that. I don't know if the hotel comes to pass, how that's gonna impact. I question that whole parking scenario around that, but that ship sailed.
Anything else? So the recommendation is to go with your new proposal for the ordinance, is that correct?
Yes.
How does council feel about recommendations for that?
So
Go ahead.
If you take all 4 spots up, that's legal then for $25.
Mayor, councilor, no, we actually have a cap. You can only take 3 diagonal and 2 parallel.
So you could take 4 if you pulled 2 permits, but that would be 25 per permit.
Yes.
2 different trucks.
Or if I had a truck and then set up a massive tent, not massive, but for seating. So, but yeah, okay.
Council's good with that? Awesome. Great. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to budget amendment number 3. And we're take that away.
Council, this of course is your last budget amendment for fiscal year 26. I think Director Johnson and Nicholas Gassman, our accounting super, through these changes.
Mayor, councilors. So this is again the third budget amendment of the year, typically our last one, which we just kind of use to make sure everything's looking good. We're not going to run into any issues, do any projects that got approved late in the year, that type of stuff. So I outlined 6 different items in the budget, the memo that has been prepared. So I'll just touch on those a little bit. So the first main item in this amendment is the YDOT Poplar CY to Collins Water and Sewer. So we originally budgeted this project already, but when we got the bids back, it came in significantly higher than we originally thought it would. So what this amendment does is it increases the budget based on the quotes we got back from the RFPs that were allowed. This one is done in conjunction with YDOT, so the timing of it's I think a bit of a concern, which is why we're doing it as a budget amendment. I did want to point something out in this. There's a small typo in the last line on this one where it says it's coming out of the sewer fund balance. It's actually coming out of the sewer and water fund. So 270,000 is coming out of the sewer and 1.5 million is coming out of the water fund for this one. Okay, the next item that I wanted to bring attention to is the ones.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Do you want questions as we go along or save them?
If you want to save them, maybe let's let the staff go ahead and go through them. And then if you make note, then we'll go back. If that's okay, Pat.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Mayor, councilors. So the next one is the 1 cent 17 collections. So we have a couple different projects in here, and the main point of this is to allow us to spend the money earlier than we were originally expecting. So the 1 cent 17 funds, we're expecting to fully collect that a little bit earlier than we were originally expecting. So with that, it gives us the ability to not break the cash on hand rule, but do some things a little bit earlier. So this kind of benefits because like the 7 Sol cardiac monitors, if we wait till next year to do this, I think it's a 6% price increase is what we were being told. So it just kind of allows us to get more with the money we have. And then the next one is the rec center RTU replacement. So again, this is another project that was currently in our budget, but when we're getting quotes back and working with the engineers, figuring out exactly what we need, the price is more than we originally budgeted. So this amendment gives us authority to go after the full project that we're looking for. Then the next item is the subsidized fund changes. These are the recreation area where some of the different, like if we had less revenue than expected, it would increase the subsidy for it. If we had more expenses, it would increase the subsidy. So in total, the subsidy is changing $676,000. And the majority of that is because of the hard winter with Hogadon this year. Okay. And then another item, so back in January, the council approved some contracts with the opioid funds. So this is giving us the ability to pay those. And then the last one is the North Platte Sanitary Sewer Interceptor Phase 2 project. And this is, the good thing about this one is we have a federal earmark that will help cover the majority of the costs. So that's 1.75 million of this $2.18 million project. So in total, all of the items in this increase spending authority by 9.5 million, and then it will also increase revenue by 3.2 million. So the net impact to the city's funds as a whole would be 6.2 million as a reduction. And then with that, I'll open it up to questions and we'll defer to some of the department heads as needed.
Pat, do you want to start off?
Could we go one by one?
However you want to. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have anything on number 1? The YDOT Poplar.
Go ahead, Pat.
So on that, I am curious why our estimates from engineering was so far off.
Mayor, Councilor, there on the sewer side, I know this one well, we have some really unique manholes. The large interceptor sewer that goes through that area We are putting manholes in locations that it's conducive to do lining projects down the road without having to re-dig up that new concrete that they're going to be putting in. They're very large, they're unique and not common. So I believe that the contractors didn't have a good experience in installing them earlier and maybe increased their bids for that. The water, additionally, there was more work that was identified a little bit later, but the bids came in a lot higher. A lot depends on the contractors that are bidding on the project and the workloads that they already have. There wasn't a lot of competition for this project.
Excuse me, Krista, could you also speak to the fact this project was bid twice, is my understanding, in conjunction with YDOT? First bid came in exceedingly high, and the second bid was a little bit better, if I recall.
That's correct. The first bid was, if I recall correctly, about $4 million over on the utilities combined. YDOT went out and bid, trying to phase it into 2 separate years to make it more exciting to contractors to bid on, which brought these prices down from where they were.
So at the end, it talks about funding for this amendment will come from the sewer fund balance. So I'm a little, with some of the others, you know what sewer fund balance those reserves would be at?
Our sewer fund reserve is approximately $8 million over reserve requirements. So sorry, our sewer fund balance, yes, is over 8 million over reserve requirements. So we have the capacity to absorb this. Similarly, water has even more. If I'm recalling correctly, they're about $16 million over reserve.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Krista hit it. I just wanted to remind you that this is the section that have the typo. So it is coming from sewer and water. And I was worried that we were queuing in on water and forgetting, or queuing in on sewer and forgetting that water was a portion of it, but Krista got it.
Any other questions on number 1? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Anybody like to comment on unsent collections? Go ahead, Pat.
So, I mean, all good projects, and we've already talked, I believe, on these, I think have been talked about and approved on, especially the steel roller replacement. Seems like we've already gone through that. So I guess I contemplated that these things were already allocated, allotted, and were figured out. Now we're looking at a budget amendment. So someplace along the line, I'm very confused.
Okay.
Mayor, councilors, so what we typically do in a lot of the memos where we're going to do stuff before we have budget authority is give you the heads up to changing the budget later. So we can't really do a budget amendment every time we want to change something just because of some of the legal requirements. So we consolidate those all into like 3 items throughout the year. So while yes, you did talk about those earlier, that was kind of giving us the idea that yes, you would accept this when we do present it as a budget amendment.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
And council, this will allow staff to proceed in the current fiscal year with these purchases and avoid increases in prices that could occur if we didn't amend it into this fiscal year and just brought it forward in the subsequent fiscal year.
Other questions on item 2? Let's move on to item 3. Questions? Concerns, anything like that? Pat, do you have anything?
So basically, I'm pretty disappointed that this one's so far increased. If you remember during discussion, I asked what size, how many ton, that kind of thing. And so I guess and how much excess number 17 do we really, because I'm taking this on number 17 is, obviously excess is what we're counting on utilization, or am I wrong on the excess?
I guess if I could, Mayor, when you say excess, you mean over collection beyond what we anticipated
On the fifth set?
on the fifth set? Yeah, I don't think this is over collection, no. Within the allocation for parks and recreation or buildings, that was originally envisioned when the fifth set passed. So it's a reallocation of funds because these units are costing way more than anybody anticipated, 4 years ago. And with that, I'm sure Zulema can give you a very detailed explanation.
Counselor. Counselor Sweeney, you may recall, we did talk about this in April on the 7th, and you did ask the question that I could not answer for you. We did follow up with an info packet memo that clarified the two units. One is 46 tons. The other unit, let's see, sorry, I have to refer back. The second unit is the energy recovery ventilator that serves the locker room areas, and that ERV, which improves the air quality and replaces the warm, moist air in the locker room with fresh outdoor air. That has a cooling capacity of 10.75 tons. So we're replacing the existing 40-ton unit with a 46-ton unit, and then the ERV is going to be a 10.75-ton unit. So hopefully that answers your questions in terms of the funding. The city manager is correct. So for 1 cent 17 cycle, city council allocated $5.4 million to facility improvements of the major building systems, HVAC of course being one of them. So this is funded by the original allocation that was provided for facility maintenance. It is, we're not counting on an excess collection to pay for this.
Thanks, Mayor. And so, because I was struggling to wrap my head around this in leadership. So this was already an allocation we made back in 21 when it went, or 22 maybe, when it went on the ballot. And it's a expense that we, I guess, were originally planning for later, maybe next fiscal year or something. But because we know we're going to, we're doing the work earlier than anticipated as fiscal year as opposed to budgeting it for next fiscal year. Is that the issue?
Mayor, Councilor, so what we asked for was the pre-spending authority so that we could bid it the project at a favorable time for pricing as well as installation, because large HVAC units have a long lead time and we want to be able to install it during an ideal temperature timeline. That is why we asked for the authority to move forward with the project before the July 1st timeline that the project would have been funded. And the facility condition assessment did identify these units as needing to be replaced, I believe in FY27, maybe even FY28. But what actually prompted this project to be budgeted originally or added to the capital budget for FY27 was the failure that occurred last summer. That just reinforced that the units are failing and we need to address that before we have a catastrophic failure that makes the facility undesirable to use over the summer months.
Amber.
Can you talk a little bit about what the primary reasons for the delta between the original request and the actual expense that we're looking at?
The original, Mayor, Councilors, the original for the project was actually extracted out of the facility condition assessment. So that was a low figure that was provided by the consultant that we should have vetted more. So that was a mistake on our part to not get updated relevant quotes. In addition to that, however, when we had the failure and we had to address that, it was identified that it would be highly beneficial for us to add controls that allow us to remote monitor and control the system from a computer in the buildings and structure shop or a laptop that is mobile. And so adding that control component added a significant additional cost that we were not necessarily planning for or anticipated, but we do believe adds high value.
Janine?
Just to speak to that a little bit, Council, I can tell you that these RTUs have really increased in price since 2020. I've experienced, I know our neighbors next door are experiencing it. In fact, I provided some information to Councilor McIntosh, who sits on the Hall of Justice Committee. They're also seeing expensive prices. And in my previous position, we saw prices more than triple following the pandemic. I did a little Googling before we looked at this, but they're saying that some of it is driven by federal regulations, some of it is driven by labor shortages, and also rising material prices that have been post-pandemic supply chain largely related. We keep hoping these prices will come down, but I can assure you it's not just Casper. And probably your consultant pulled that $250,000 cost estimate around 2020, 2021, and then the world kind of flipped on its head for some reason related to the price of these pieces of equipment.
Some of the federal regulations around it, there's a change in the refrigerant that they are now using, which increased costs with that. So, yeah, safety concerns as well as refrigerant changes. EPA.
Get to them.
Right, blame them.
Tariffs.
Just kidding. All right, let's see. Any more on 3? Okay, let's go on to item 4. Thanks, Luna. Anybody have questions around item 4? Yeah, Mike.
I'm curious, I don't know if this is a question for Zulima on the subsidies. I'm just curious how this, I mean, obviously, to me, Hogadon is kind of the outlier there, probably just because of the bad year, but how do these, do you know how this kind of compares to subsidy increases in past years? Zulima, just for a kind of a ballpark,
Mayor, Councilor.
and particularly Hogadon, yeah.
So unfortunately, yes, because of our abysmal snow conditions this winter, Hogadon fell well short of anticipated revenues, in fact, $450,000 short. What we would normally have primarily for ski passes, which of course people did not buy given the snow conditions, and then daily lift tickets as well. And so, I of course don't have, the history of all the subsidies committed to memory. However, I can tell you it is a pretty large portion of the discussion we generally have at budget time. And I am working on preparing some stuff for the city manager that gives some of that history for you all. And of course, through our business plans, we're also trying to display that. And so we're happy to provide some follow-up information for details that I'm not really prepared to provide tonight.
That would be insightful, I think, just to kind of know.
So each of our business plans shows expenses and revenues over the, 5 to 10 year past, as well as our projections into the future. And so happy to provide those.
Thank you. And I realize subsidies are always a projection anyway, so.
Primarily for the very weather dependent operations.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Zulima, I can just tell about somebody else coming.
Yeah, I certainly was expecting to see type of adjustment coming for Hogadon. One that seems less intuitive to me is the ice arena. So maybe that is also one that would come with further detail later. But if you have any high level kind of context for those two numbers, both the reduction in revenue and the increase in expenses, that'd be helpful.
So what I can tell you on the revenue side of we had some snafus early season with the Warbirds ownership.
Yep.
Of course, previous ownership had rented much more ice time for practice, and we had more scheduled games. When everything happened with the ownership, we ended up, the new ownership had to scale back practice time, so that's ice rental revenue that we lost, as well as we didn't play as many home games here in Casper as originally planned, because in the transition, we dedicated ice time to other users. And so it was just a lot of decrease in both ice rental time that would have normally gone to the Warbirds, as well as concession sales for games that we were not having at the arena. So those were the primary drivers of the revenue loss. Primary drivers of the increase in expenses were really staffing. Over half of that was non-full-time staff that was really miscalculated during our budgeting process of what we needed for coverage for the hours that we operate.
Thank you.
And sorry, I would also add utility costs. Water and electricity have gone up pretty significantly, and unfortunately, ice is pretty water and power intensive.
Good, Pat.
On the parking fund, which structure are we talking about?
Mayor, councilors, this is the downtown parking structure. And what we're looking to do is this is getting an engineer hired so we can do some structural assessments and some, like, to figure out where all the cracks are so we can seal them and do that type of work.
And I'll just tag on to that, Counselor, through you, Mayor. In reviewing the budget, Director Becker had raised to my attention that our parking vendor who operates the facility for us is concerned and was asking for some repairs. We have concrete dropping off of some of the overhead areas. And so with that in mind, we conceptualized of a structural assessment to really look at what that structure needs. It is fairly old, and look at long-term repairs versus short-time fixes, but that will involve getting an engineer involved.
I mean, I thought the 40,000 was a lot, but I'm not a structural engineer, so that's for sure.
Yeah. I would add, if I could, Mayor, the number may be a bit wide. What we had hoped to do was to potentially engage an engineer to look at that structure as well as the structure that abuts the business center. And sort of get hopefully some bulk rate pricing if they'll look at both of the structures. Analysis and like I said, can look at long-term solutions and not just patchwork. So it could be a little heavy is what I'm getting at, but we won't spend more than we need to.
No, and that was my thought process exactly. If you could work both of those structures in at one time, but and I believe we've still got structural engineers here in town, so it would be great if it could.
I think staff told me we have one.
Any other questions on the subsidized funding changes? Okay, let's go on to opiate settlement payments, item 5. Questions on that? Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
So I guess I'm not sure why this was different than what we approved. So if somebody could kind of.
Our members of council, I think what you're seeing is it's the half amount. So we're only putting in a budget amendment for the half, the county's paying the other half. So what you saw in the memo was for the full, but only 50% was ours. So I think maybe that's the difference you're looking at. But otherwise, it's the full amount we approved to go to them as a whole.
Because we had $3 million in total, and we were only we were taking a third of that and dispersing it this time, right? So this 500,000 is half of the 1 million the county's taking.
That makes sense, Pat.
So we still have opioid settlement monies. We have not wanted to make disbursements, track success, and then use the remaining 2/3 to invest. After we have some baseline metrics to go off of.
So this would total
Yeah, this 500,000 plus the county's 500,000 will be 1 million, which is a third of the 3 that we've received.
Mayor, Counselor, if I could jump in too, we would only budget what you guys have approved to be spent. So even though we have extra money that is in the opioid money that we are restricting, we are not budgeting the entire thing. We are only budgeting what has been approved to be spent.
Yeah, Mike. Counselor Gamrot, that 3 million that you mentioned, that's $1 million a year over a 3-year period? Is that how that works?
No, I don't believe we made any multi-year commitments. It was just 1 year.
I see.
We didn't want to.
That's the 2/3 that's remaining.
Yeah.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
So my recollection was we may get more, but right now that was the total at this point, so that we might be out in another year or so, or 2 years.
And that was the intent of the group that was making the recommendations, was we didn't want to, blow our wad at the onset before we had gotten is that an inappropriate phrase? Somebody used it the first time, and then now it's just stuck in my head.
I thought it was you that used it the first time.
No.
too.
Not a phrase.
Making it a thing.
I'm going to point this to Steve Cathy. That sounds like it's Steve Cathy.
That's a boomer.
Don't print that, Tommy.
It's inappropriate, I apologize.
It was the first.
So yeah, we didn't want to,
Spend it all.
empty the bank account. Maybe that's it.
Thank you. Better.
Now I'm gonna Google it.
Don't.
It's not the city device.
Not on a city
You
laptop.
innocent child. Did you have something to say? We're way out.
To lose or spend all one's money. I don't know why you guys are trying to make me feel so terrible about that. Okay, we clear?
So do you know the spending time frame for the 3 million? Is that, by when does that have to be spent? There's no end.
No.
So just whenever it runs out.
Yet.
Yet. Okay, thank you. Good change.
Mayor,
Sorry,
City
Mayor.
Manager, yes,
Oh,
we
good.
have invested those. Are collecting interest.
All right. Sorry, Kyle.
Good for comic relief.
All right, item 6. Does anybody have any
Jenna
questions?
was passing out. She was gotta lose consciousness.
Sorry. Yeah, we do have an AED, don't we? Phase 2. Does anybody have any questions about item 6?
So
See the wheels turning, Pat.
again, worried about, fund balances, and some of the loans we're requesting and grants. So I realize this is the interceptors and collection points, but so wastewater treatment plant fund, where does that fund balance currently?
Mayor, Counselor, we are several $1 million over reserve requirements in the wastewater plant fund. So this can additionally, traditional capital expenses, operational expenses, and debt services are split among the different entities that pay for the regional wastewater services. So wastewater is typically a net zero type of operation. We bill for all of the expenses that we have. And the nice thing about this project is it's a $1.75 million congressional earmark for the interceptor. And the added expense is our match for that grant.
And I can't remember if it was one of the other numbers. Is the wastewater fund same as the sewer fund, or are those different?
Mayor, Councilor, they are different. The wastewater fund funds the wastewater treatment plant as well as our regional interceptors and regional infrastructure. The sewer fund funds only the city sewer and city sewer infrastructure, like lift stations and pump stations.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, staff. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas. So after all that, it sounds like if everybody's comfortable with those budget adjustments, yes. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mayor, Madam City Manager, we were just looking for direction on.
Oh, geez, that's right. Sorry. I suppose I would have read the recommendations. Go ahead, Madam City Manager.
Council, so we are looking for direction on the budget amendment and your approval.
Is everybody okay with that?
And this will come in the form of a resolution as well.
I will, yes. And thank you for the reminder, Director.
Awesome. Okay. All right, let's move on to the fire annual report.
So this way to the podium. The fire department did just complete their 2025 annual report, and I thought it would be useful for you all to receive a high-level overview of that report. We'll look at operational outcomes and some notable accomplishments from the past year. The full text of the report is available on the city's website, and there is a link in your packet if you'd like to go read that in full on a subsequent date. And then given the interest in the public around fire danger for the 2026 summer, I believe Chief Black will conclude by just sharing some observations from the department as we look at the summer of 2026.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, councilors, thank you for tonight. This is going to be a two-part briefing. I'm going to first go over the 2025 annual report for the Fire EMS Department, and then I'm going to do a joint presentation with Emergency Management, Mike Cavalier, and discuss our outlook for the 2026 wildland fire season. Now, if you have not had a chance to look at the digital copy of the annual report, I do recommend that you do that. The PDF print out is not as pretty as the actual report online, so it's interactive. You can get in there and get a lot of different stuff. I recommend you take the time going through it and doing a deep dive in it. But before I get into the numbers, I'm just gonna take a minute and talk about what 2025 actually was for this department. It was a year of continued progress, strategic investment, and organizational maturity. The demands of emergency services continue to grow every day, and they are not stopping. Our department stayed focused, strengthening our ability to respond, train, and serve the community. Our personnel responded to thousands of calls last year. And behind every single one of those calls is a firefighter, an engineer, a captain, or a chief officer committed to the people of Casper. We made a deliberate investment in our capacity, staffing increase, the separation of the truck and rescue. We had 2 recruit academies. We have a new deputy chief position. And these aren't just one-year wins for the department, the city, for the community. They're results of several years of planning, and they position the department, the city, the community for several years ahead, and position us in a really good spot to be able to respond to the increasing needs. So now we're going to walk through the data a little bit as a refresher. The Fire EMS Department, we got 5 stations, minimum of 20 personnel, per platoon on shift at those stations. That gives us 3 to 5 personnel minimum at each station. We have 5 engines, 1 ladder, 1 rescue, 1 squad, 3 brush trucks, a battalion chief running the shift, and also hazmat, incident command, and regional response capabilities.
Okay.
Now let's take a,
Chief, I'm sorry. So I was a little confused at 1 ladder truck because I thought we bought that.
our frontline apparatus.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have reserve apparatus, but in that statement, I'm just talking about our frontline apparatus, the ones that are ready to go all the time. We do have reserve apparatus, which that additional ladder truck is one of the reserves.
okay. So in this, when you talk about 5 engines and 1 ladder truck, so this is all the 5 stations combined?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and that's our frontline. They're staffed, ready to go.
Okay.
If I talked about all of our ancillary equipment, we'd need more time.
Okay.
We've got a long list of reserves and backups. So last year we ran 9,661 total incident responses, pushing 10,000. It is increasing every single year. 7,135 of those were EMS responses. Only 176 were fire responses. 860 were good intent calls, 608 service calls, and 882 were additional responses, false alarms, canceled en route, hazardous conditions. So with 74% EMS and 2% actual fire, that is a ratio that tracks with national standards. But that doesn't mimic what most people think we do. Most people think that all we do is run fires. But the majority of the time, that call comes in, it's somebody on the other end of the line that has a medical issue going on. And we're sending at least 3 trained professionals, and they're showing up at their door, making their day better. Looking at a 5-year trend. In 2021, we ran 8,354 calls. 2025, 9,661. That's roughly 15% increase over the last 5 years, and roughly 4% year over year from 24 to 20, or 5% year over year from 24 to 25. That it just keeps climbing. That's why one of the major wins for the department and the community was that increase in staffing and being able to split that truck and rescue company. Distribution by shift, it's pretty even across the board. A, B, and C shift, they get an even workload. If you look at the distribution by hour and weekday, throughout the week, the call volume increases, peaking about midweek. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. are usually the busiest, unless you're at station 1 or station 3, and then you run a lot of night calls. When you get into the online version of the report, there's a geographic map, and that shows all the hot spots in the city. And you can tell those hot spots are around the downtown area, station 1, station 3, which we have more personnel at both those stations, more apparatus, and that helps respond to that increased call volume. So breaking it down into actual unit utilization of those almost 10,000 calls, our apparatus generated 25,287 total commitments of apparatus in 2025. An average duration of just under 21 minutes. An important number here, 6,433 separate instances last year. We had 3 units committed at the same time with an average of 8 minutes and 40 seconds. We had another 3,000 instances with 4 units committed simultaneously and nearly 1,400 incidents with 5. That's what overlapping call volume looks like. And that's another reason that being able to increase our staffing and split that truck and rescue and help with those overlapping calls and make sure that we're capable in responding is a big deal. And I just ask that council keep in mind anytime we talk about future capacity decisions that we keep in mind that overlapping call volume, because it does impact operations and our capabilities for the responding to the community. Looking at our response time performance for 2025, our average response time was 4 minutes and 41 seconds. That's 4.69 minutes. That's measured from the moment the citizen dials 911 to the moment the first emergent CFD engine arrives on scene. We track it that way so that we can actually quantify what that person in need is going through and how long it's going to take from the second they touch that phone to the second our professionals show up on scene to help. I'm going to move in community risk reduction. That's our prevention department. Deputy Chief Kevin Ross is here tonight. This is his very first council work session experience. So Kevin, thank you for being here. CRR plays a critical role in supporting our public safety development and operational readiness through the city of Casper. It's the part of the department that does the work before the calls come in. And a lot of times you can't quantify how many emergencies you stopped, but the work that the CRR division does is incredible, and it does pay dividends every single. They also do plan review on new construction, code enforcement, life safety inspections, fire investigations, public education. Last year, CRR participated in more than 40 construction and renovation projects across the city. Major builds include Newport Mall, the County Health Building, Les Schwab, Yellowstone Apartments, and the Hyatt Place Homewood Suites Complex. Every single one of those was reviewed for code compliance and life safety during the design and construction. Investigations. We handled 60 fire investigations led by the Casper Fire Department, and that included significant work on the spree arsonist case where we actually got a conviction. So strong work, Kevin. Capacity building with CRR. We continue to look at new ways to be able to get in and educate people through our business self-inspection program and make sure that public education is paying forward every single day. And that public self-inspection program has done a lot for our community in the last couple of years since inception. And Chief Ross has some ideas to make it better for the future, and we're looking forward to kind of advancements we can make. They saw 2,350 third-party life safety inspection reports. Our crews have completed another 686 additional inspections. And the number of different events for community risk reduction and public education that they do, I mean, it touches and impacts so many of our community members. They engaged with 5,371 members of the community last year, teaching them about fire safety. Moving into the training division. In 2025, Casper Fire EMS logged more than 33 That's a big number. But we've had a lot of institutional knowledge leave our department over the past few years, and I'll get into that. But we are constantly training, making sure that our members, our men and women show up and they're ready to make people's days better. Breaking down those hours, 2,705 went into airway management, medical emergencies, trauma, pediatrics, and then different elective hours and paramedical level hours throughout all of the ranks. Fire and special operations training, company training, almost 12,000 hours, driver operator training, 3,181, officer development, just over 1,600, hazmat, nearly 1,200, special operations, nearly 3,000. Wow. It goes on and on. I'm very proud of our members of our department for what they put in training and our training division on how they prepare them daily. Changes on what I briefly touched on. So we hired 15 firefighter trainees last year and ran them through 2 recruit academies. We promoted more than a dozen members up the rank structure, captains, engineers, a battalion chief, deputy chief. And we said goodbye to some long tenured members. Between a battalion chief, 2 captains, an engineer, and a firefighter, 123 years of combined service walked out the door. And that's another number I want you to hold on to on why it is so important to support our training division, to make sure that all these new faces we're bringing in are trained and capable to respond to the needs. Looking forward to the next year, to 2026, we're going to continue focusing on staffing stability, leadership development, facility modernization, and operational excellence. With strong community support and dedicated workforce, we remain committed. The department is prepared to meet the challenges ahead of all of us. So that concludes my information on the 2025 annual report. But before I segue in and call Mr. Cavalier up here, I explained how we're postured, our staffing, our training, our prevention work, our response capacity. And that matters most when we go into a wildland season like we are. Wildland seasons can test departments and communities in ways that you all know. You guys have seen all the bad wildland seasons throughout the different communities in the United States. We're coming through several seasons of compounding fuels conditions. Vegetation that grew during the wet years has cured and is now ready and dry. Our wildland urban interface around Casper continues to expand every year. The resource competition during the height of fire season, when other parts of the state, other parts of the country are also burning, that affects what we can rely on locally for mutual aid. The upstream work that goes on outside of what we're preparing for is done by emergency management. Fuels assessment, predictive risk modeling, interagency coordination, public preparedness messaging. And Mike does an incredible job at all of it. So before I turn it over to him, I'd like to ask if any of you have any questions on the annual report, and we can go into the fire season.
Pat has.
So thanks for all of these details. Chief, how do you on tracking on the training, like the fitness hours, of 8,275. So I'm guessing they're on duty.
Mhm.
And so that's clocked. Is that the same with wildland and all of those trainings are part?
I'd say a large majority of it does occur while on shift. Some of it, of course, can be like a 1 week or 2 week class where it overlaps on days off and individuals are actually on their days off and training as well. But I mean, our training calendar every day is booked all day long. And they cut off their PT first thing, by 10:30 in the morning, and then they go straight into inspections, training, public education. And sometimes it's packed till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. But there is instances when they are off duty and it's not while they're on shift.
And you mentioned wildland. So, noticed in the past, mills might send a truck and equipment to, I think it was last year was California and maybe Dane. Others went from our department. How much brush trucks do we actually have in the city of Casper?
We have 3.
3?
Yep.
Okay.
And we do have a wildland program where we will send members out on those large project fires. But before we do any resource allocations elsewhere, we make sure that we're covered in the city of Casper first.
So where I was going with that is how, if you're out on a federal fire, I'm not sure if California's Palisades fire was considered federal or not, but does the city get reimbursed?
Yes. Yeah, the city gets reimbursed for their time, for any callbacks to backfill their positions. They get paid for any type of apparatus or specialty equipment. So there's a whole funding model that goes into it, and we make sure that it's solvent before we send anybody and make sure that we have the staffing back home to even be able to send anybody out.
Okay. So the city gets reimbursed for, let's say, plus the help. So how does that marry together with, do they take vacation time to do those things?
No, they don't take vacation time. What happens is their time is covered by that fire while they are gone. And then any backfill that is required, the fire covers the backfill as well. So if we have, say, 3 individuals that want to go out on fires, we'll put them on the board for a 2 to 3 week period and say, hey, this is the time frame that we're comfortable with you guys going out. They can get picked up, get sent out, and then they're supposed to be on shift. That fire covers for any of the backfill to make sure that we are covered staffing wise back here at home.
So do they get paid any?
It depends on the fire. If they make it depends on the hours that they work on the fire. Everyone is different. I mean, sometimes they could work 8-hour days. Sometimes they could work 12, 14, 16-hour days. It depends on what fire it is and the team running it, what's needed. It's pretty fluid on each one. But typically they will. And one of the really good benefits of it is the amount of training they get by going out on these large fires, the instant command training, the different wildland training, getting that experience that typically they're not going to get while they're here in Casper.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a question for you, Chief. I appreciate all the information, but I would encourage folks, it is a lot more dynamic presentation on the website, like you said. I'd also want to give kudos to Captain Cody Park. Sounds like he's the one that takes all the pictures. As I was looking through it, I was thinking to myself, these are some great pictures. So yeah, he does a good job.
Thank you. I will pass that on to him.
Thank you.
Any others before we turn it over to Mike? Yeah.
For those of us fortunate enough to only have experience via TV, can you give us a quickie version as to why you guys are called to all the medical things and we aren't just relying on the ambulances here in Casper to do that?
Okay, so a Reader's Digest version of that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness, readers.
You are John Smith, citizen of Casper, and you call 911. You expect somebody to show up quick, right? If you are, say, out in PV and the hospital is in the center of town and you're having a heart attack or a stroke, cut your arm off, or any of the number of things that happen, that ambulance could take 8, 10, 12 minutes to get there. Our fire truck is getting there on average 4 minutes, 41 seconds. So the way that we are positioned around the city with the 5 different fire stations, it's just a nationally recognized model that it is better for the communities because we are able to get there and get that life-saving care initiated quicker. And then when the ambulance arrives with their paramedics, EMTs, whatever, then we can transition that to the transport to get them to the emergency room. But if you were just relying on an ambulance service, I don't believe you have the rapid type of response and the life-saving capabilities for a community that our citizens expect.
One more, or whatever. You guys are actually more qualified than a lot of the personnel equipped on our ambulances as well. Am I right?
Well,
Professionally qualified,
That's
not just
loaded
personal
question.
opinion, but
looking at our training hours, 33,300 plus, we take it very serious. And a lot of times we are 100% in this career for 25 to 30 years. So I don't know the statistics on career paths for medics on ambulance services and how long they're actually in that. But I would venture to guess that in the fire service, you have a longer career path, which builds more experience, all of that training, which could compound into a much more qualified individual.
I should have rephrased that in a less fired up way. I'm sorry. But we require you to be more qualified than we require the ambulances based on the contract we have, I believe. So it's safe to assume we'd rather you get there first anyways. Right?
Absolutely.
I don't actually have to ask you that. I know the answer. We require you to be more qualified than we require the ambulance.
I am very thankful for our partnership with Banner, Mills, Evansville, and their capabilities to help us transport and get our citizens to the emergency room.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you
No,
on the
you're
spot.
fine.
But yeah, you answered it very well, Chief. Dramatic.
You guys are always teaching me.
Send him to Iran.
Any other questions for the Chief before we bring Michael up? Yeah, please.
Talk about our last ISO report and rating and when we expect our next ISO review.
Okay, so we are an ISO level of 1. That's the highest ranking you can get in ISO, which also lowers our insurance rating and our insurance rates in the city of Casper. We were audited in 2022, and we expect to be audited again next summer of 2027. So we've been putting in a lot of work to make sure that we're caught up and on track with all of our training hours, our inspections, our response. I mean, there's a whole myriad of different items that come into that recipe to make sure that you're at that top tier. I'm very proud of our department on what we've built over time, and I want to make sure that we keep that.
depend on that, council, because I think certainly the work that our fire EMS folks do in terms of life-saving efforts for fire and EMS are important, but I also think it's important that we recognize that they have an important role to play in terms of our local economy and the costs that our businesses incur for insurance, as well as the costs that we incur as individual home and property owners. So having that viable department is important for quality of life, or excuse me, quantity of life, but also for our quality of life when we're looking at insurance costs.
Thanks, Chief. All right, thank you. I appreciate all of your support. Mike, if you want to join me up here. Council, Mike Cavalier.
Council, so I haven't met all you guys. My name is Mike Cavalier. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator for Natrona County. So typically you guys kind of interact with me more often than not during our emergency operation plan revisions and adoptions and things like that. I've been here in my current position since June, but I've been with the county since 2019-ish. So definitely not new to the program, but new to the position. So you might have met my previous boss, Stacy Hill, who was kind of leading the charge on the EOP revisions last year. So yeah, sessions, and I really do think that that's a testament to fire, the EMS, the law enforcement, dispatch, all of these programs that kind of work with the more public-facing side of public safety that you guys see. And the programs that they run are great, and that's typically why I'm not here, is they're carrying that flag really well. But I want you to know, not only personally, but statutorily, I'm the Natrona County Emergency Manager, so that is every municipality within the county. So I'm just as committed to you guys as the county, even though I'm employee of the sheriff's office. We work alongside of all of your guys' agencies as well. So I am glad to be here kind of ahead of disasters. Normally, that's always a better position to be in. And trying to kind of, one, echo what Chief was sharing, but also to kind of forecast a little bit for you guys some of the problems that we're going to run into most likely this year. I don't think it's going to be a terrible surprise to anybody on, the moisture content and everything this year, but, some of that is quantifiable, and I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. We're seeing, again, severe drought conditions going into the season. We've already had a 6,200 acre wildland fire in Natrona County in March. That's not typical. That's not just a one-off. That really is not typical at all. And what this technically is indicating is our fuel loads, the things that burn, are drier and more prevalent this year than they typically are. And this has been building up. This was a problem last year. It's definitely a problem this year. The way we look at this, so BLM Fire, which is now the U.S. Wildland Fire Service, it's not BLM Fire, they have some technical indicators that they use and they rate it in hours. So we are looking at 1,000-hour fuels. And when we talk about 1,000-hour fuels, we're kind of timbers 3 to 8 inches in size. They're looking at that. They're looking at the drying conditions of those. And then they take into account something that's called an energy release component, an ERC. This is a composite index. There's a bunch of science behind it. I'm not a scientist. There are fuel specialists that talk about this. But they look at the worst case scenario of this particular piece of fuel can provide energy in a fire and released per unit that they have. If you look at that ERC and you look at that fuel load, it starts giving us the indications of fires, potentials. The other component we look at is our weather, and it has been unseasonably warm already. It's going to continue to trend as we're seeing this La Nina flip. What happened is the atmospheric patterns and everything are going to push even warmer conditions on us, especially as we head into late summerish in the western part of Wyoming. So that's definitely a problem. Additionally, we're looking at, I know speaking with Casper Mountain Fire Department, they're struggling to even fill water tanks right now with the amount of available water at the mountain locations. And we're kind of seeing that in a couple different other areas. Additionally, the last, kind of doom and gloom is what we have is return fire intervals, RFIs. And return fire intervals are basically how nature typically would run fires and how we're seeing them now. So if you had an area that's every 50 to 100 years, you have a big fire that comes through and clears out, conifers where they're not supposed to be. And we haven't seen that for typically reasons we're aggressively moving into these interface areas with houses. So we fight these fires like we're going to lose a house, not like we're worried about fuels. We see that these return fire intervals don't occur building and building and building. And, we look out here and it's, green grass and things like that. But I'll tell you, all of these factors, like we don't have 8 to 10 inch logs laying around the city of Casper. They will affect the city of Casper directly in big major cases. So there are a couple active mitigation efforts that we're doing. There's some gaps that we'd always like to grow into. What we're doing, what we'd like to do, as you guys know as a council, doesn't always jive. The first thing, I wish we did this last year, but just because of the intervals, we have our community wildfire protection plan. And part of that plan update that is coming, hopefully by the end of this year, is joint wildfire task force. And on that task force, we bring all the right players and stakeholders to talk about this and identify areas, identify plans, identify solutions. So that is underway. That is actionable. Things that we're learning right now. If there was a case today, we would be putting that info into play, even though the plan's not done. So we are working on that. I do want to talk about public and private mitigation efforts. This is kind of a tricky spot. There are areas, or what we call interface areas, wildland urban interface, that introduce fuels up into structures. And structures, when we talk about big fires like this, are additionally fuels. So you look at the Palisades fire that you were talking about, or the Marshall fire out of Colorado. These had huge, tremendous impact on houses, and not one house here, but rows and rows of houses. And that the mitigation effort around these locations, even in an area, like Wolf Creek or Garden Creek or some of these areas, these are still very key things. And I know through the CRR program, these are topics that are all kind of that risk reduction point. We really can't stress enough, fires don't care about property lines, they don't care about municipalities. They're going to do whatever they do, and we need to be working to kind of identify those areas now. Because we don't have a FireWise program any longer in Wyoming, or I'm sorry, in Natrona County, we kind of have to rely on you guys as municipalities to help us get that word out, help us on that education point, to work with those homeowners to talk about the 30-foot to 100-foot space around their structures. We talked about resources or apparatuses in front line and second outs and third outs. That comes down to resource management, and resource management in a wildland fire is going to be very difficult, because the moment we send 3 of your guys' brush trucks to one part of the county and there's a structure fire and we're calling people back, all of these are just cascading problems that if we don't have those resources, we don't have those personnel, we don't have those plans and systems into place, that's going to cascade faster than we're going to be able to get ahead of it. So those are some of our gaps and some of the mitigation efforts we have underway. And I do kind of feel a sense of urgency on some of this because when we're talking about fire progression, we're talking management. If the chief comes to you, if I come to you guys, what we're asking for in emergency situations, really time is of the essence. So that's kind of a talking point I love bringing up with councils, with municipalities, is that if we ask for declarations, if we ask for delegations, if we ask for those things, these are not just from the hip. They're either pre-staged in the EOP that you guys have already adopted, There's processes, laid out in that, or they're very well thought out because of whatever that situation demands. That red tape, that is a real problem for us on those incidents. So please kind of consider that when you guys are getting those requests, especially in disaster situations. But if we're calling you for something like that, it's definitely a situation we have to worry about. The other component is unified messaging, and we work really well together in the public safety world with some of our stakeholders and other governmental partners. We have public information officers that we rally on incidents, or people, even if that's not their primary duty. Taking pictures is not, a primary duty of a fire captain, but maybe they have secondary training and we could allocate those resources. We have a couple full-time PIOs, which is great as well in the midst. Those folks are really going to be the driving messaging force, because if we throw out conflicting information, that's a problem in responses, and we see that unfortunately in other counties, in other states, and other responses. So that practice of unified messaging, working with us together, is great. When we talk messaging, it's hard not to talk about emergency alerts and evacuations. So we primarily use Ready, Set, Go. Not primarily, we use Ready, Set, Go. That is the verbiage. The ready phase, is kind of a prepare now thing. We live in Wyoming. Tuesdays will kill you in Wyoming. We have to make sure that we have resources and things on our home side of the house that are in place in case we have to do things. So preparing is a big part of that component that I push out. The set is simply, hey, get set to evacuate. You're adjacent to an area that we have a high level of concern that you very well could be in a place where we need to evacuate. Get set now. If you feel like leaving, that's fine. Please do now, and then go. Go is pretty self-explanatory. It's evacuate now. We would love to say every chance we get, every incident, we get the chance to say, hey, get set before go. Sometimes we don't get that opportunity. And then with that is our emergency alert system. So we have one system for all of Natrona County, and that's Connexus. You can go to natronacounty-wy.gov to sign up for emergency alerts. Signups are a huge deal for us. If we don't know where you live and what your telephone number is, we can't tell you that you're adjacent to an emergency. We also have, the EAS and WEA system that, takes over cell phones and TV and radio. But there's different stages and different criteria and technical reasons why we might start with a subscriber-based one first. So we definitely want up-to-date, accurate information on that. And then cooperation and training is kind of the last point I want to touch on in this briefing. But you heard from Chief Black that 33,000 hours were conducted by Casper Fire, and that's a great amount of training hours. In that, I know some of those hours were dedicated to joint training, since we do that very well in our area. We want to continue to train with county, state, and even federal partners as much as possible. That interoperable training, the shared language, the shared communication systems. When a fire breaks out, whether it's just an initial attack on a very small one or a moderate sized one, that training is what's going to prevent that from going any further. So supporting that training allows us to work together as flawlessly as possible, and we see great dividends on that around the area. I'm going to talk about resource management again. Resource management, that is a key to success. If there's a fire here in Casper, you very well could see an ambulance from Mills or Evansville. If there's something that happens, on the east side of town, you might see a Casper Fire Engine help out and go over to those. Going back to the ISO ratings, some of those are all contributing factors into what we call automatic aid and mutual aid system stuff. So supporting of this team sport that is public safety in our area is not only a very Wyoming way to handle business, working together, but it's also incredibly important to homeowners insurance, to resources, and definitely to those that are experiencing the emergencies. So I have a ton of resources on this stuff, a ton more I could talk about. I am trying to keep it brief for you, but if there's any interest you guys ever have any desire to sit down with us and talk with us over at emergency management or myself or meet or anything, please reach out. Don't hesitate. Like I said, I am employed by the sheriff's office, work for the county, but I serve you guys as emergency management coordinator, both personally and statutorily. I got a high interest in working for you guys just as much. So that's all I have on the brief. But what questions can I answer?
So you mentioned declarations and
Yes.
that type of thing. Do we have anything ready to go?
So in the EOP, there is some sample, declarations. Answering questions on a test we haven't even written yet. So we have some framework, and there's definitely best practices and attorneys that can talk a lot to declarations and delegations. But in the EOP, we do have some framework and some pretty standard language in that regard. And by resolution, this council, along with all the other municipal councils, adopt that same EOP. So we do have a good, strong foothold starting towards that. Just adapting it to whatever that situation.
You might explain your acronym, Emergency Operation Plan?
The
EOP.
EOP, Emergency Operations Plan, sorry. So I don't have the resolution, I should have referenced it, but yeah, there's a resolution. Our latest version is 2024. We're currently in a revision right now of the Emergency Operations Plan. So every couple of years as things change and lessons are learned and tactics are adjusted, we update that plan. So anticipate you'll see a version of that here, 27 for adoption.
So one of my worries this summer is the center part of the mountain. We haven't, thank God that we haven't had a major, we've had the east end, well, the west end first and then the east end. But parts of that, I believe, are city property. And I don't know how that all interplays. Would we be supporting county fire and, state resources? And how might that resolution process all?
So it depends, resolution wise, there's quite a few factors on that. I'll tell you from what we call incident management. One of the core tenets is a unified command system. And what that does is I might take any one of the chiefs from Casper Fire, a chief from County Fire, a chief from Mountain Fire. They don't relinquish any powers or authorities, but they're linked up making decisions together. That's our first line of defense, and that happens very regularly throughout our county with crews and teams. So that's going to be kind of that first line of defense. From there, it really depends on how we're going to attack that fire, what that fire is doing, whether or not we have state or federal resources that can come in and support us, or if this is going to be remain in our control. At that point, we might look at something, as far as a declaration or delegation of authority. But generally speaking, I think that unified command is the correct answer for much of what I'm concerned with until we can get federal or state support.
So one of the things I'm very concerned about in particular with the property tax reductions and, on the ballot this fall is going to be the 50% residential property tax reduction. And so where I'm going with this is our county fire. And unfortunately, late in the game during this legislative season, Alicia Campbell tried very hard to stand up something in particular for special district fire units across the state. Unfortunately, it got way late and died. do you really, I mean, on the county fire level, I'm concerned they're gonna have to shut possibly the east side station. Maybe they already have, but do you have any?
I'm not going to be able to speak to county fires. They have their own county fire board. It'd be much like me speaking for your council, which I'd refrain from doing. So they're answering calls for service. They have an incredibly dedicated group of individuals within their department. And, you know, I know that they're rallying around, you know, the need for sure. So I think that a lot of that is to be determined still, and I know they're working that problem.
Any other questions for Mike?
Mike, thanks for being here, Mike. Update. One question about is, do you have any, you mentioned about not having Firewise any longer. Do you have, what would be your number one recommendation for how the city in particular could go about, and the county could go about creating more awareness in the absence of that?
Yeah, I think I'd love to see the Firewise program come back. It is a great program. It is a national program that's super helpful on a local level. I think that would be my first recommendation, would find a way to bring that back for a municipality. It is that education piece. It is, you know, you guys are fortunate, you got a CRR program, and I think this is definitely within their wheelhouse of things that they work on. But as a municipality, you know, working with your public works and making sure that the areas that you guys do have that have heavy fuel loads are mitigated. That's simple to say, sometimes a little more difficult to access and accomplish. But, you know, that's where you'd lean on your CRR, on your public services and folks, and kind of let them come up with some good brainstorming options to get that accomplished. But I think it's putting it on the table to discuss, I think, and keeping at the forefront of a discussion point. Because we have a lot of draws, you know, from a lot of areas where there is fuels, even in the city of Casper.
So that typically would involve education for public, for business owners and so forth.
Yep.
And then, I mean, did Firewise, I just don't remember, did it also include things like PSAs or media?
Yeah, they did a really
Releases and that kind of thing.
elements to it. The public information and public training messaging portion was a big part. At one point, they were partnering with landowners to clean up their own properties, which was amazing. Whether or not landowners choose to participate, that's always kind of the challenge. Sure. But to get paid to mitigate fuels on your own property, or to have a contractor do it for you, that was a pretty good program.
Thank you.
Why don't we, in Trona County doesn't, but are there other parts of the state
that have Firewise? Yeah, I couldn't rattle them off, but yeah, there's still active programs, and that's all grant based and takes staff, and I think, you know, a couple of the staff, they just retired, and say torchbearers. I don't feel like that's the appropriate term, you know, but they kind of they retired, and we hadn't quite had anybody else jump up to do that. But I do believe there's a program out there to participate.
All right.
Still have a lot of their literature in my office, so I'm happy to share it with anybody that wants it. Good literature.
Thank you, Mike.
Sir.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff, everybody, for putting that all together and talking to us. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and go to agenda review. Next few work session, regular meetings. Madam City Manager, do you have anything you would like to touch base on or give us heads up on?
Mayor, nothing in particular I'd point your attention to, other than just to reiterate that we do have a couple of full agendas over the next few Tuesdays. So maybe bring snacks, I guess.
Anybody have any questions, anything like that on the agenda? No, okay. All right, let's go into council round. I'm gonna start with you, Mr. McIntyre.
Sure. I have anything or not? Check my notes. Too much went on this week. I didn't get it, I thought.
Well, he's looking at that.
Go
Can I say
ahead.
something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just looking at the grid, and so we have a special work session here on the 27th for the budget. Is that called day?
I'm sorry, I'm not listening. Jenna, could you say that again?
Yeah, so we have a work session on the 26th, and then it says the 27th is a special work session for the budget. Is that?
That is correct. That would be a Wednesday. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay. How long do you suppose? It says we're gonna do about 4:30, so like till 8.
I'm gonna lean on.
Just trying to figure
other
out.
staff. I think it's fairly quick. It's a single action item, correct?
Okay.
So Mayor, councilors, in the past, we have usually scheduled 2 days for the budget. We don't always use that second day, so it's really up to council if you feel that you have covered everything that you need to in that first meeting.
So we'll kind of have to play it by ear, because if we get into a budget on the 26th, and we need to come back for an hour or two, we can do that as well. If we need clarifications or want to follow up on anything, but in years past, I think we haven't used it before, so.
Okay. So it looks like we also have a special council meeting scheduled after that.
That's
Executive session. So if we do cancel the special work session, we would make this for the special meeting.
Oh,
That will be very short, Mayor.
okay.
The special meeting should be short.
So we will meet on the 27th.
Should we move it the other day then to Tuesday, just so we'll for sure be here that day?
I like that one.
In case we do cancel Wednesday.
Can we do that? Move it to the 26th?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Good call.
What just
Life.
We move this to the 26th in case we end up not needing this special work session, so we don't have to come in on Wednesday just for the single item.
And you do expect it to be short? You're concerned if not, we have a 4-hour meeting on Tuesday,
It'll be
and
late.
then 2-hour exec session afterwards or something.
Should be pretty brief.
request a pay raise. I'm just
Here, just to fire up the world.
We'll come back to you, Mike.
I'm ready.
Volunteer.
So Ray and I had met with the ARJPB board and interviewed a few people for the board positions, and we came up with 2. We will be appointing them next Tuesday, so that'll be on our agenda for next Tuesday. So we had 4 really good candidates. Unfortunately, we only needed 2, so we narrowed it down to 2 and went with that. So
appreciate Chairman Milne declared conflict because he's on the board, so I felt that I should do the same.
So it's Mike and I, Commissioner North.
yes.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah, it was fun. Had some good conversations.
I agree you did. Okay.
We missed you.
That's all I got.
Awesome. Jenna?
All right, well, last week was pretty busy, jam-packed, and Pat was with me almost the whole time. No, we had Visit Casper luncheon.
Oh,
We had Hell's Half Acres ribbon cutting, which was phenomenal. So go out there and check that out if you haven't. It's just breathtaking. They redid the whole parking lot, picnic tables. Yeah, it's amazing. And then we went over to the bus garage to see, you were with me the whole time. And then, for their 5th anniversary. And it was fun because I was one of the ones that were there for the first year anniversary. So it was just nice to see all them guys again. Just want to do a shout out is that for my Rotary Club last Thursday, Steve from Fort Casper came over and presented, and he did an amazing job out there and just kind of got everybody jazzed up about visiting Fort Casper again. So I want to give him kudos, and he's getting out there and making people aware of Fort Casper and the things that are going to be coming. And then his program list hit the ESA on the internet for the city too. So for the summer, so lots of good things to look forward to. And then I want to say thank you to all of my fellow council people because I have one paper left and it's my final paper in a presentation, and then I graduate on Saturday with my master's.
Congratulations.
Wow. I know, so thank you for all of your patience.
And it's public administration, right?
Yes,
MPA.
an MPA. Yeah. So
Just 3
thank
years
you.
in making. Yours.
Okay, so I'm ready.
Good enough.
On the slow boat with all my other commitments.
No, you're-
It's the only way I could get her done, but point is I got it done. So,
For you.
so thank you for your patience and letting me leave early on work session days so I could catch my classes and all the things. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Well worth it. Congratulations. Ms. Haskins.
I don't have a whole lot. I did go to our first meeting for the gambling commission stuff. We have somebody coming on the 19th to tell us all the differences in the machines, thank goodness, because I'm still not sure I know. And I apparently spent, that's only spare time that he wasn't with Jenna. So. Here, I thought I got Pat, but no.
That's everywhere.
Look, you're not even going to have anything to talk about now. We just covered it all for you.
Pat's work here is done. And
We gotta
Shriners
do that
have-
more often.
I know, right? Shriners had their onions out. I used to
They
have a
do.
guy.
They
He's
do.
no longer my guy, so I had to go searching for them. But I
Medallion.
found them in the Menards parking lot. So it's
They're
all
also
good.
in Sportsman's Warehouse parking lot.
I saw them
Or-
in Hobby Lobby's parking lot after I left, but apparently that's only on weekends because they're not there right now. But anyways, if you can't find onions, they're in the Menards parking lot.
so the Shriners.
Yeah.
Yes, and you don't get, that's a short window, Pat.
Yep.
If you miss them, call me. I've got
We
one
gotta
bag
do
left. I'll hook
50
you up.
pounds. We should all go in on one. Everybody gets like 2 onions. Otherwise you got
We each
50
get an
pounds.
I bought 6 bags.
Oh my gosh. You
I
can
have
eat
a
them like
problem.
an apple.
I don't. I hoard them like a psychopath.
Brenda, you kind of take us off the rails here.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. I don't know
wanna
why
say
you let me
anything,
talk. This is why we let Pat do the talking.
Lesson learned. Support your community. That was the end of her.
That was good.
I'm
Love
done
it.
now.
The end of it.
Matt, do you have anything? Mike?
Pat doesn't
I
either. So
know, 2
Amber?
weeks in a row. He looks at me
So
like
you
I'm
forgot the chamber banquet.
Oh, yep. Chamber banquet. So
And you were there.
there was so much.
Yeah. I did meet last Wednesday with Blue Peak. They just wanted to update. I don't know if other council members talked to them, so I thought it was good. And that was Wednesday. Thursday, on Public Works contractor testified at the end during select water, stormwater, and then Friday, was a delightful day. With Hell's Acre, I mean, what got accomplished out there is really pretty incredible. So compared to what it was, that's for sure. So, and then kudos to our transit workers and folks. Their cookies were very good.
Who are you looking at to talk? Oh my.
We talked about the cookies already.
Yeah. So, and then, as Brandy said, on Monday, we met with the city manager. You know, trying to get the ball rolling on the gaming and at the chamber banquet, we had the city attorney and myself had a really good visit with Kyle Ridge and gave us some really, really good ideas and thoughts, I felt. So
Also a delightful day, right? Also a delightful day.
I wouldn't
right?
go that far on it.
Sorry, Eric, I tried.
Then this morning I had downtown Casper Business Association.
Oh, I thought I said that, but no, I didn't. I was there with Pat this morning too. We had a date at 8:30.
So
Copy.
much too early for all of that. So, no cookies. So, so that kind of rounded things out. So appreciated allowing me to ask some questions on the budget stuff. So I much briefer now that Amber showed me how to open that whole file. Good job, Amber. So,
I'm here for you.
thank you.
Marks?
Uh,
Marks?
Yeah.
Tough job sitting by Pat.
Now, if I can figure out how to get back there.
That'll be the one thing.
It's the book. It's orange.
Amber, do you have anything tonight?
I'm just very delighted to be back in person with you all instead of seeing my really large head on the screen. It was a quite awkward experience. So really happy to be back with you. I have Parks and Rec on Thursday. Wanted to give a reminder to the community that the deadline to apply for the Casper Area Impact Grants is and your liaisons to that group will be reviewing those at the end of the month and awarding those funds to the various community partners that that apply. And then also the deadline to, if you're already registered to vote, the deadline to make any changes to your party affiliation tomorrow. So if you need to make any changes to party affiliation, you need to go to the county clerk's office and make those changes by the end of day tomorrow. That's it.
Biggest example is independent.
Right, yeah.
Because there is no ballot.
Right.
For independent.
Correct. Yes, I called today just to confirm my registration. It took 14 to 15 seconds. So I would encourage you just to double check that and make sure that everything is in order for your registration so that you don't have any unexpected surprises when you try to go to the polls.
A couple thousand purged.
Right.
Can register at the polls.
If you are not registered at the polls.
If you've been purged.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amber. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking forward to the meeting next week with Nick Laramendi, the Director of the Gaming Commission. I've been meaning to bring this up the past meeting or two, but Pat, Councilor Sweeney, in regards to the carve out we made for skills games a couple weeks ago on our moratorium, it was after that I found out Smith's Grocery actually does have 3 skills games in there. Here in town. So that was brought to my attention after that conversation we had. So
in the grocery store.
in the grocery store, right beyond the checkout aisle.
Okay.
They got kind of a partition But again, not something that I'm keen on. So just one topic of multiple conversations I hope to have with Nick next week. I, like Councilor Sweeney, also met with some Blue Peak reps. I appreciate them reaching out. I think they were just wanting to be proactive and sent me with a contact sheet for kind of their chain of command if I talk to people that have issues and stuff. On that note, am I the only one that's heard from, I've had multiple people call me about work being done in their easements lately, Matt also, so maybe it's just a Ward 2 thing, but I know we've had that conversation multiple times in the past, but for one reason or another, I just do not feel super equipped to give people resources and stuff when they call me with that. So I personally would like a little refresher on, I know when unsatisfactory work is being done in an easement, the citizen is initially supposed to kind of go up that chain of command, figure out who the service provider is working in that easement, get in touch with them, file a complaint or a service ticket or something. But I've talked to multiple people that have done that, and I am not aware of what levers the city can pull when they are not getting resolution through those methods. So I personally would love a little refresher, just because I've had multiple of those phone calls. So I don't know.
Do you want that on like a work session?
Or just in an information packet as a memo, something.
That'd be great.
Just great, thank you. And then I will be attending a WAM board meeting or retreat, maybe. It's 2 days long, so whatever you want to call it, in Lander Thursday and Friday this week. As a result, I will be missing my DDA board meeting. That is Thursday at 11 a.m. at CityWorks. They do provide lunch. It's always very good. So was hoping someone could serve as my proxy at that board meeting.
And maybe you want to be proxy at that.
This Thursday.
This Thursday, 11 a.m. CityWorks.
You layer me. Sorry.
No takers. Cool. I think Liz is going to be there. So it's not, okay. I think we'll have city
Love
staff
them.
there. So yeah, I'll try to connect with Melissa.
She already left.
She already took off. I'll give her a call and I'll update y'all next week on what they talked about. That's all I got. Thank you.
Awesome. Just a couple things. 5th anniversary for the Casper Transit system was really well attended. Council members were there. Our city manager, committee staff, Zulima. It was great. Eric was there. Yeah, sorry, Eric. You're standing right next to me.
Krista.
Oh yeah, Krista. Anyway.
There were a few of us there.
Anyway, it was great. Yeah, Jill.
All leadership.
Yeah, I almost made it.
It was great. It was very well worth it, and was there at the very beginning as well. I know Jill and I were talking about that before on day one, and so it's they've done an amazing job. And I did mention in my remarks that with everything and how they transitioned, they did it on day one. They were able to one day make the transition to the next day seamlessly, so no riders had any issues or disruptions. So they were amazing.
Mayor, I forgot tomorrow night, Casper Police Department's having the deal at, I don't know what
David
that's.
Street Station.
Yeah.
Burgers, games, music.
They can be there,
It's
Chief.
their block party for Police Week.
I thought he was being serious for like 2 seconds. Thank you for reminding us. Yeah.
Totally spaced it.
Yeah, thank you. Chamber Awards Banquet was able to attend that, sat with a couple of council members, and Elisa was great. Chief Black was there with us. Eric sat with us.
Chief.
Oh, sorry, Chief, you were right next to me. I'm sorry. And Chief. It was a magical night with you, Chief.
Memorable.
Must have been
Memorable.
memorable.
Yeah. So it was really great. Also, next Monday, there's lateral swearing in for officers, Chief. Lateral. So how many do we have? 2? Yeah. So we have 2 lateral officers that will be swearing in on the 18th. So we're doing that, which I look forward to. That's all I've got.